I got the call about Miss Victoria in March of 2021, and she came. The caseworker said, "I have this little girl. She has a little bit of a limp. We're not sure what happened there, but I think she's okay." And she just limped right across the soccer field with a suitcase. We were at Hazel's soccer game, and here she comes, and I was like, "I think that's more than a limp." The caseworker was like, "No, I think she's good. I think she's good."
Back at that point, caseworkers and things, because I was still in my mess, wouldn't listen to me a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
I had no credibility with them, and rightfully so.
yeah.
But yeah, I had medical charts for her and could show them her cerebral palsy diagnosis and this and that. But
Part of it was I think they were probably like, if we say
it,
she has CP, this lady may not take her.
it was all super shuffle, super
Yeah,
fast, and just get her wherever she needed to
yeah,
be. That was better than being with me at the time.
yeah. So she came to my house in March of 2021. And can you share a little bit about yourself and Victoria and kind of what led you to that point when they called me?
All right, so I'm Jessica, and I'm Victoria's mom. Victoria was 4 then, getting ready to turn 5. My life before that was a mess. It was addiction. It was running away from that. It was leaving Maryland where I'd lived all my life because they were coming to take my kids, and that wasn't going to happen. um, and I got here and I ran into myself here and I continued in my same mess. And the great state of Arkansas stepped in and they rightfully so took her from me. Um, Back in February of 2021, she got to you in March. Um, that looks like all the reasons that kids legitimately go to care. That is drug abuse, that is unmanageability of no stable place to live, no vehicle, no, just no, for quite a long time. Um, so that's kind of what it looked like when she got to you. And what did that do for me? That helped spiral me into a super darker,
Mm,
what did I have to live for then?
right.
Like, okay, I'm gonna go big or go home, and it went real bad for a real long time. And I fought all of it tooth and nail. I fought everything DHS wanted me to do. I fought very, in my head, I thought it was justified. Like, no, I can tell you all the answers about my child. I know. And I didn't know anything at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a leg to stand on to start a relationship with you or even really be seeing Victoria more than I was.
Yeah. Well,
Because I was still super out of control. Um,
I will say though, on FaceTime calls with you, I was so impressed. I always was like, man, Jessica's got her stuff together. She's a good mom. You would always tell Victoria, like, yep, Victoria, remember, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, or your
I
manners, or,
had it in me.
yeah,
It was just,
it was lost for a little
it
bit.
was lost for a long time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
The last 5 years, I'm learning how to be a grown up and be a mom, and that's just kind of what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
My childhood was chaotic. Um, got married young. That didn't last long. There's a 25-year-old child out of that. There's a whole big wreckage with
Mm-hmm.
what my life looks like or did. Um,
Would you say that you hit rock bottom after Victoria was taken?
Absolutely.
And was that, do you think that was necessary for you to then
So
climb back out?
when the foster care journey began, I rallied against it. Fought tooth nail, all the things. Wanted to tell you, DHS, my lawyer, this is what you need to be doing. Like, to look back on it, it's wild. But you know what? At that point, I was operating with foster care was something that happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
I was a victim in that. She was a victim and a hostage as well, like all of these things. But and it wasn't right away. It was after I made treatment and after I started get foster care became something that happened for us,
Mm-hmm.
not to us. And once that turned around in my head and we could all village together for what was really in the best interest of Victoria, and I could find some open mindedness and realize that, look, it takes a village to raise a child
On
in
a good
any
day.
normal
Yeah.
circumstances,
Mhm.
let alone in this type of life. And I could learn to embrace the village and the community that came with it.
Mhm.
Um, with her being in care and with her being with you specifically, and her telling me all about church all of the time, and because that's not something I've ever had. I learned a little bit of faith right out of treatment. So I ended up having to relocate to Union County, Arkansas for a while and had no idea how that was good. I was going to navigate that and visits and no car, no, all the things as I was fresh starting out. She would tell me all about church and all of her little friends and how cool her life was. Yeah, there was a turnaround in that. At the very beginning, even after I started getting better, it was still hard.
Yeah.
Because then I had to feel the guilt that goes with that. And, well, what if my kid just decides her life's so good at Miss Jordan, she doesn't want to come home to me?
Mhm.
Because she's never known the kind of life that you guys were able to provide her with me.
Mhm.
So there was a whole lot of that in this. But I'd listen to her and I'd listen to her, and you and I would talk some. And once I started to get better, you and I started to communicate more because I get why you didn't want to communicate with that other person. She was a handful. Um, but I would listen to the church and the life and something in it changed for me. And here we are. Victoria's been home 5 years, and so we go to church every Sunday. We have our own home church. She has a lanyard in Kid Life. She serves and welcomes at the door. Outside of my house right now, it was just Easter, so she got sidewalk chalk and she is writing scriptures and crosses, and because you showed her that.
Well, you.
Foster care showed her that.
Mhm.
The people at the call
Mhm.
showed her that.
The church, the people of our church,
Yeah, um,
life group leaders, other friends that invited Victoria over for play
she
dates.
was just
Mhm.
openly welcome
Mhm.
wherever she went. It's because she's kind of cool and sweet and stuff. um,
Yep.
and she's resilient and she doesn't let anything stop her, even with her diagnosis and
Mhm.
things. But I got to sit on the sidelines in a sense and watch what it's supposed to look like
Mhm.
and model that. And to know that when she left your home, she went to an established friend of yours. So there
Mhm.
was still that rapport and connection, and it wasn't a goodbye for her.
Right.
It was a see you later.
Mhm.
Because we've been doing this
Mhm.
ever since.
Mhm. Mhm. We've been in contact since she was in my home.
Yeah,
5 years, yeah, off and on.
yeah.
So, what did it mean to you knowing your daughter was placed with a loving foster family? We kind of already touched on that a little bit, but what did it mean to a mom's heart that you knew that she was cared for and loved?
Like I said, to initially it was anger.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real for real. But something changed, and I learned that it was possible for me to be able to provide that for her too. Um, and you provided exactly what she needed in the moment. She was welcomed into your home with your daughter, with everything. And it did make me be able to sleep at night,
Mhm.
knowing that she was living her best life. That I got to take a break and focus on getting better for
Mhm.
not only for her, because I did, I started it for her, but it became something for me too. It had to.
Because a better you is a better mom for
For
Victoria.
sure.
Yeah.
becomes a better overall
Mhm.
everything, mom, wife, employee, all the things. And I get to show her
Those things. Yeah.
how to influence and be those things for her.
Right. Don't play. Shut that door. At what point did you realize there were others supporting the foster family caring for your daughter? So, did you ever see that side of things, that people that were supporting us and then helping, therefore helping Victoria?
I mean, you and I talked about it some.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that for me came from the call and
Mm-hmm.
seeing just, I didn't know an organization like that even existed.
Mm-hmm.
And there are lots of programs and things like that out there that I had no idea
Right.
cater to the foster care. When I originally thought of foster care, even before this, for me, it meant taking somebody else's child, bringing them into their home, doing whatever you had to do to provide for them and those kinds of things. And that is not what went into my child's care.
Mm-hmm.
It just isn't. Um, between the advocates at school, the people here at the church that provide and help, and because she's a special, complex case
Mm-hmm.
and needed extra support.
Mm-hmm.
And you had it, and in turn, you helped me with it. And there were times that people of the church and those kinds of things not only helped you with her, but would reach out about what I needed
Right.
to help get back on my own feet
Yes.
so that we could reunify.
Even after.
Yeah. She came home and I didn't really need anything for her
Yeah.
because there was a village and a community and a church that loves helping,
Right.
no matter who it is.
Right.
But
Yeah. So I will say on my end, we had so many people in the church that welcomed Victoria, like you were saying, invited her to birthday parties, came to Victoria's birthday party, brought her gifts.
she didn't miss a
Um,
beat.
you know, the Jones family, the Holcomb family, all of my close friends would provide, helped us provide
Yeah.
2 weeks worth of groceries when she went home.
Yeah.
Things like that, like a lot of times. So, and those were huge helps for me. Like you said, the intern helped you guys. Adam Cordell let Victoria ride on his on his back throughout the whole Little Rock Zoo one day when the kids went to the zoo. I mean, just things like that.
Yeah.
Because he knew she was struggling, her foot was tired, and he saw that, and he just popped her up on his.
Yeah.
And she had the best time, and so they had a little connection. But just things like that made me feel better that my church family loved on her.
They did.
Yeah.
There's pictures that came to me all of the time from all of the events and things and the outpouring for, like I said, and I don't personalize that to my child. It would have been anybody that was in your home.
Victoria was easy to love, though. Everybody loves Victoria. She kind of runs the show.
She's becoming a preteen and that she still thinks she runs the show.
Um, we kind of talked about this, but how did it impact you knowing the whole church was behind us, and in a way behind your daughter too? I think we kind of touched on that a little bit.
We
But
did.
anything else you wanted to add?
Again, it showed me what life is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had none of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I never knew half the things that happened for her or even possible or that that's what life looked like.
Mm-hmm.
That, I don't know.
Yeah, just gave you a framework for how you can
Yeah.
provide that life for
And
her
now we
afterward.
just do it.
Yeah, you do it well.
Yeah.
Can you share how people came alongside you during that time outside of foster care with me, like maybe on your end of things with the rehab and different things?
It was an interesting journey right outside of treatment. I had a home plan that was set to fail from the minute I made it. Oh boy, sure did. Um, but I ended up in a place where I had no idea where I was going as soon as I got out of treatment.
Right. That was a really difficult time for
That
you.
was real hard. Like, what am all these steps forward, and this one felt like a huge one back. What do I do now? Because I still had no faith in DHS or these were my very first baby steps towards anything bigger. Um, and love DHS. I think sometimes there are things that need
Mhm.
to be different, but
What do you think made that switch for you to like start moving forward and like getting from that point of I feel overwhelmed and I'm not sure I can make it to like we're gonna do this.
when I called my caseworker on a Sunday because I had nowhere to go,
Mm-hmm.
and she made a very personal phone call outside of work
Mm-hmm.
to somebody that she knew who had some sober living homes and that kind of thing. Said out, and it was a Sunday afternoon when I called this
Mm-hmm.
lady. They don't answer their phones on
Right.
Sundays
Not typically.
typically.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Give me an hour and I'll have it figured out for you."
Yeah, that made a huge difference for you.
Oh, now that I'm in that moment, I don't think it registered for me, but once I got on the other side of treatment and I was doing what I was trying my darndest to do and didn't want to slide backwards. I was fresh out of treatment. Like,
And how easy that
it
would
could
been.
have been
So easy.
done.
Yeah.
That could have been the end of everything I just
Yeah.
worked for. But she had me in a sober home in El Dorado the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So
and then,
you could see that she was for you and DHS was for you,
yeah,
like trying to help you.
yeah, it was a super switch. Where they were never against me to begin with. Like, let's be real honest. I was against me.
Yeah.
Um, but then I did. I latched onto the recovery community in El Dorado. I still have the same sponsor that I had then.
Mm-hmm.
We're 5 years later, and I still go back to those people.
Right.
Um, I still go back to those people. That is where my recovery began. So my sponsor is there, a whole lot of other people, second chance bosses, kind of. That's where it took a turn for me when people who didn't know me
Mm-hmm.
were starting to see something in me that I was couldn't see in myself quite yet,
Mm-hmm.
and were willing to take chances. And I did. I go and I lay it all bare everywhere I go now. But I let that boss know when I started that job, like, hey, I've got this kid. She's in foster care. She's doing well, but I need her home.
Mm-hmm.
um,
I need a job, but I need some flexibility.
yeah, I need all those
People were
things.
willing to help.
Oh, and she's in Bryant and Benton, and I'm in El Dorado, and I don't.
No transportation.
Um,
Uh,
so, but when I started doing things that needed to be done, there was no person who was willing to stand in my way.
mhm.
My recovery community, they would make that 4 hour drive round trip, which turns into an 8 hour ordeal when I'm driving for 2 hours here, seeing her for 2 hours, and 2 hours home because a Zoom call and visit was great.
But it's not a
But
replacement.
not, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And I forget why we did Zoom calls at first. Was that still during COVID?
it was COVID. Her
Yeah.
very first Zoom, I was in treatment. It was her birthday, and they allowed me to call her.
Yeah.
Um, and then some of it was the distance,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it was COVID, and just a whole lot of things went into it. But I wasn't missing visits anymore.
No. And you needed to see your baby, and she needed to see you as
And
much as
she needed mom,
yeah.
and I needed her.
Earlier you were
Um,
saying that you were worried she wouldn't want to come back, but
it was.
all I would hear on my end was mommy this and
It
mommy
was
that.
my crazy brain.
No, but I just want you to know that there was never a minute in that child's brain or heart that she did not want to come back to mom. She loved you from the get go, and you were it. And everything she drew was like,
She
here's
still
mom,
draws those
come
red
over.
and green hearts that we did with one side green.
Yeah.
It's my favorite color, and red was hers.
Yes.
She still draws them.
Yeah. She's,
Um,
there's never been any loyalty questions for me with her. So.
no, not at all. It was just coming out of the life that she had
Yeah.
into the love and the care and the hazel and
Mhm.
the swimming pool and the tractor rides. And I said, just learning to experience life for what it was
Right.
and not what I was dragging her through before that.
Yeah. And that, like you said earlier, it allowed you time to work on yourself to then provide a better life for her. So,
Man, they do that.
what was it like the day you were reunited with Victoria? So at that point, she wasn't in my home anymore. She had moved,
No,
but
she had moved.
she was still here local. We had contact.
Yep, nobody goes very long without Victoria. So she came home for in-home trial placement in March of 2022. And that was scary
Yeah.
because I was stable as I had ever been. I had a job, I was working on getting a car. Like, then I was just afraid of all the things that they would find as a reason to not.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to express them to you, to the home that she went to after, to the people of the call. All these people made sure that there was not going to be an obstacle standing in the way. She did not go with me to court for the final. That's
Hearing
called.
or whatever. Yeah.
But my life was so different that at the end of that hearing, I've never not been in court for a whole lot of things, good, bad, indifferent. I've never seen a judge come off the stand and ask to give somebody a hug,
Mm-hmm.
but, but Judge Bird did.
Yeah. I will say that was probably the longest year of your life, but it is abnormal for a mom or a dad or someone to get their child back within a year.
That's what I've heard.
I don't hear of it very often.
That's what I've heard.
So that's remarkable.
Once I finally figured something out, it was all like nothing. She was coming home. And like I said, I've heard it all my life. You have it in you.
Mm-hmm.
I
Victoria
knew it
gets
was
her
there.
determination. Victoria gets her determination from you.
um, but yeah, I had an incredible lawyer. The DHS appointed me.
Mm-hmm.
Who would go to bat for everything when it was deemed fit because I was asking for some wild stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
So having her home, it was scary.
Because, I mean,
but in the absolute best way.
mm-hmm.
I was able to bring her home, and everywhere we went, it was almost like she had been there. Because everybody's like, "Oh, well, you're Victoria. I've heard stuff. I know all the things that." Yeah,
Everybody knows Victoria. What would you say to um, the church that supported me? Like just a statement or about the care you received. Like, what's your final experience statement, whether that be gratitude or not?
I was gonna say, well, it can't be any higher thank you. But gratitude is an action word for me, and I now advocate for all of the things. And yeah, there's some parts of that system that are broken,
Yes.
but they need advocates. But to watch everybody lift, and yeah, they supported you, but it was all for her and all for me, and you were the vessel leading it. But at that point, it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah. It was for her.
And
And
gratitude.
yeah, it's good.
There will never be enough thank yous in the world other than that continuing. And that doesn't always mean bringing a kid into your home.
Right.
There's so many. I've seen meal train apps and things now, and just so many different ways that you can support foster care.
Right.
Which does not look like, oh, here, uproot your life and take this kid.
Right.
It's not always that. It's, hey, your kid has hand me down clothes. Let's find out where I can donate those to where they will go the best need.
Yes.
Um,
And we had families in the church bring clothes.
She came home with so many clothes
She
that her size is 2 sizes too big for her to grow into.
Yes. We had families bring food, like you said, bring clothes, bring the first night we had her, I was like, oh, I have to take her to school tomorrow. I guess she needs a backpack and school supplies. So
Yeah.
a toothbrush, a brush for her hair. Like we had people drop off.
Suitcases. So when they move from one home to the other, they don't feel like they just have to bag it up in trash bags or not be allowed to put it in the drawers.
Right.
Something that makes the little people who are affected by this still have some dignity intact and respect for being just individual little people.
Who
Because
have no
that's what
control
they
over
are, and they're outside of their control
what
and their
happens to them.
comfort, and anything that they've ever known. Give it some respect.
Right. And their situation is something that was out
It
of
has
their control too.
nothing to do with them. That's something that I still have to reassure Victoria of from time to
Right.
time, even.
That none of this was your
Like,
fault.
yeah, no, that was on mom. It was me, baby. You're good.
What would you say to someone who doesn't feel called to foster but wants to help? And we talked about the ways to do that, but speak to that.
You know, it doesn't have to be a big time commitment. Try it once, and if you don't like it, don't do it again. Right. But every child deserves. And like we were talking about before we get started, you grow through uncomfortable. So if you don't want to do it, try it. There are so many different ways to serve these babies, and they all deserve a chance because they had nothing to do with the things that brought them where they are now.
How has this journey, in closing, changed your life or your perspective on community and faith?
I wouldn't have any if I didn't have this. If this hadn't happened for us, I got a little bit. So you work a program of recovery and you hear about the higher power and things, and that can be anything. But learning to walk in faith in church and having a church home, and my life is so different now. I read Bible stories to that kid at bedtime, and we watch Minnow, and just I wouldn't have any faith if this wouldn't. This is where it all started. With just a little mustard seed that somebody planting along the way. And some of those people aren't in to watch it blossom, right? But faith and community, I don't know where I'd be without it.
And boy, is it blossoming. You do amazing work working with recovery. Tell a little bit about what you do now.
Okay,
because
so
of your past.
because of where I was and who I am, April 11th of this year, I will be at my job for 1 year. And I am currently the tech supervisor at Serenity Park Recovery Centers, working with addicted individuals.
So leading them through something you've been through yourself, which is so
the lived
powerful.
experience of this side of it. I get to walk alongside them with the lived experience.
Do you get to share your faith through that?
Only when asked about, because it's not something that we promote, but we don't. All paths are acceptable. So when I talk about my story, yeah, it's in there because it wouldn't be my story without it. I do balance that with AA and my own recovery stuff, because there is a difference. But yeah, my faith gets to, even when I share my story at an AA meeting, it is all very, very faith based, organized, because that's shaped me to be the person I am today.
Final question. This isn't on the paper, but
Sweet.
if you Without sharing specifics that you don't want to share, how can our church pray for you and your family?
So Victoria is a preteen,
Mhm.
and that takes a whole lot. Um, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. I have a 25-year-old daughter who, November of 24, was on life support with a fentanyl overdose. She went through a 4 month faith-based program. She's not dying of fentanyl over anymore, but she needs
She needs
covered,
prayer.
period.
Mhm.
Um,
We will commit to praying for her.
yeah, my life, my marriage,
Mhm.
just all the things, because it's the best weapon we have. Pray all the time. I used to be a person that was like, "Oh, I'll pray for you, sure." Now I stop and do it when I tell
Okay.
people that. Like,
That's wonderful.
booby boxes and ambulance and fire trucks go by, and my 10-year-old will stop and pray for the situation at this point because of things that were given to me from all of this.
Well, you've changed your legacy. You did that. Victoria will now remember a different life than she would have before. And that's because of your hard work. So thank you.
Teamwork. I love you
Love
so
you.
much.
Okay.